to False Count Anywhere. Here, recording this on Tuesday night, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2026, about 7 p.m. And we are now, it is go home week as Backlash is around the corner. Of course, we do this show every week with our man, the one-third of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. Also, the host of Rob the Genius Podcast. It is my man, of course, Rob the Genius himself. Rob, what's going on, brother?
Oh, good to be back.
Yes, sir. It is go home week, of course. Mania. It's funny. WrestleMania. We just had WrestleMania like literally 2 weeks ago, and then we have another PLE now, and like coming up like 4 days. It's crazy. So the calendar is a little shrunken a little bit.
And we got a short window to the next one also.
I know. That's what we're saying last week on the show. Like people say like Royal Rumble Mania is peak season, and yes, it is, but it extends really into the summer because there's a lot going on just between now and SummerSlam.
Yeah, because they don't really slow down. Like June things tend to slow down, but they usually Mania happens in April, and they usually kind of keep riding the wave through May, and then June things usually slow down in June.
Oh, I want to ask you something before we get started.
Yes.
Did you see the Michael Jackson movie yet?
No. It's my man because there are a couple of movie theaters around here. The one that was like the closest one to my house.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because there are a bunch of movies I wanted to go see that I haven't gone to see yet. So, I mean, what I've heard about it, it seems that it's entirely dependent on what you were going in there for.
Yeah, exactly. And as a hardcore fan, my investment is different from everybody else's. I did a review on this podcast, and my wife did a review on our podcast. And there was obviously mistakes made. They took some liberties here. But if you saw the Queen movie back, Bohemian Rhapsody back in 2018, same situation. You knew this was the format. This is the Graham King movie, So for what it was good. For what it was good.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, music biopics now for sure, and probably maybe the last 10 or 15 years. I won't go as far as call them propaganda films, but they're definitely a lot more.
Oh yeah, without question. They definitely flirt those. Yeah, without question.
Because about 3 or 4 years ago, I watched the James Brown one. That
Did you like that one?
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. Yeah. And it was funny because I'd only really listen. Hearing Chadwick Boseman do a James Brown voice. After watching, all these Marvel movies all these years, it's just so weird. He's like, wait a minute, because you forget. I mean, that wasn't his real voice or real accent he was using to play Panther, and so and I mean he nailed it, but it was just funny, like hearing him talk that way. It's like, wait, what?
Oh my god! I still need to watch that one. I still need to watch the NWA one, Straight Outta Compton. Still got to watch the Elvis.
No,
I heard the Elvis one. Did you like that one too? Also.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, like the last half hour, it becomes like a full on like Dr. Dre propaganda film to like the last half hour.
Oh shit! So what I'm gonna do, like one of these days, I think one of these like couple Sundays when I have like nothing going on, there's no NBA playoff games on, all that. Probably when the finals start, I think I'll just like dedicate at least one Sunday to doing 3 movies in a row, and then do another Sunday to 3 movies in a row. I've watched the Elvis one still. I haven't watched the Bob Marley one yet. I have not watched the NWA one. There's another one I think I did not watch yet. I need to watch as well. There's quite a few of them I need to watch actually, and I think HBO has all of them too, or most of them anyway. So we'll check those out. All right, so we're gonna preview Backlash toward the end of the show, but there was some big news this weekend in WWE. Some really big news.
Yeah.
And it's involving arguably the greatest tag team in the history of the company. Arguably, I think people will say maybe the Usos, maybe Hart Foundation, whatever. But a lot of people will say the New Day is arguably the greatest tag team in the history of WWE. WWE and the New Day have split apart. According to reports, it was a mutual decision between both New Day and WWE management. Now, while they have both signed long-term deals last year, it appears TKO asked them to restructure their contracts. So Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, of course, don't like the new terms being offered and request a release. Both men, of course, are under on non-compete clause for 90 days, which means they won't be able to play another promotion such as AEW or TNA until early August 2026. Of course, the group never really gained momentum after Big E's career-ending neck injury in 2022. They've tried new gimmicks. They went heel, talked to heel turn recently, but they've not been the same group in about a couple of years now. Yet, even with the creative issues with the New Day, it is still shocking to see that Kofi Kingston and Woods are no longer be part of this company. Your reaction to this?
Yes. So they absolutely did lose a lot of steam when Big E got injured. However, um, the last year or so, they like they got dog shit, you know, creative to do on TV. So I mean, anybody arguing that they're kind of kaput as an act based on the last year, I will argue to the end that that is not to blame on them. Because I mean, they did the heel turn, and I mean, there was a lot of momentum when that happened because like everybody was shocked because I think we all thought they were just going to break up. Because I
Right.
mean, it felt like it was time because right, and it I think yeah, everybody felt okay. Well they're going to break up and all that, but and then instead they turned heel on Big E, and nobody saw that coming. And they had a lot of juice and a lot of momentum at that moment, and then they were hardly given anything meaningful to do. I mean, and I mean they won the tag team titles, but it's just the you can be okay. You can be booked to win a title and still have dog shit, creative
Well,
around
we've seen
what
that
you
many
want.
times over. Many times
Yeah.
over.
So just getting booked to win the title is not enough. Like you have to be given meaningful things to do, and good material and all that kind of stuff. And they were not given any after they won the tag team titles. Um, and as far as the pay cut, I mean, it appears like this is a kind of a shock thing because the company really hadn't been moving like this. So it caught everyone off guard who was asked, because there was some reports now that several people were asked to take one and they were not given a whole lot of time to think about it.
Right.
Uh, and the company really hasn't moved like this. So this was a shocker to, I guess, to whoever was asked. You know, it, this is a new thing that this hasn't been done before like this. I mean, they release people every year or almost every year, but just them coming and asking you to take a pay cut is just that's not a thing that they are known to do. The company, and this is in light of you see all these reports about you know record revenues, record profits, and you see how much money that you see what Nick Khan got paid and Shapiro and Ari Emanuel. And you see all those big numbers floating around, and they turn around and ask you to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insulting.
Very.
Well,
I
you
saw a
know,
number. I saw a number that it was as much as 50%.
yeah, and so, I mean that's insulting. So it's very simple. If you have an avenue to replicate that money somewhere else, I mean, then you take it.
And I think they do because again, New Day,
They're
we
going straight.
mentioned,
Well, they're going straight to AEW.
was they well that's I ask you right off the rip because the thing is, whenever someone leaves a company, the very first thing comes to mind, oh, can they go to AEW and whatnot? And let me ask you this though: do you think the New Day are they a fit in AEW? First off, in your opinion?
Yes, because one, they have a lot of friends in the locker room.
Okay,
Um, Kenny Omega and Xavier was the best buddies.
right, from gaming world, of course.
Yeah. And and he's friends with the Bucks also. In fact, they did a thing at a gaming convention several years ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. Like, because this was it was before AEW was formed, and
Mm-hmm.
while Kenny and the Bucks were still kind of just floating out there.
Yeah.
And there's a video of it somewhere. But they all like met up at like this gaming convention, and they play like Street Fighter against each other or something. Um, because I think they were at that point, you know, they were trying to get Kenny and the Bucks to come to WWE, and but of course, I think they didn't. Nobody knew that the whole AEW thing was being put together. But yeah, I think they're gonna go. They're gonna go straight there. Because and there are a bunch of people there who've already been, shouting them out on Twitter, like, "Hey, come over here. We,
Yeah.
can't wait." And people are already, making matches and everything. They got a lot of friends in the locker room over there. I'm sure Tony would love to have them, and they are great creative minds also.
Hmm.
So I think and they're not problem guys. Like, I mean, Punk's an asshole, right? I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
So, but they're not problem guys. So, and there are a bunch of people in that locker room they're friends with. There are some other people who admire them. Uh, and what, you know, look, you can't just talk about wrestling or even, character work with them. Like, they have a cultural impact in the world of professional wrestling.
Absolutely. As a
Um,
group, and of what Kofi did at WrestleMania 35, what that meant to not just the industry, but also the culture.
and I mean,
Win the title.
look, there's a whole generation of black wrestlers and fans who have been inspired by them to, you know, to be more creative and, to be themselves. Willow Nightingale talked about that recently.
Right.
How like they inspired her because, she, personality wise, she doesn't fit in any of the usual kind of pro wrestling, you know, archetypes, right? But she said they inspired her to just to be able to embrace her kind of natural personality and all of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, um, you can't discount that. Like, and so and so I know when we talk about people going to AEW, the first thing people always say, well, they're not going to move the needle. Like, okay, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
Okay, they're really good at what they do. They're really creative. They go over there. I guarantee you, they're going to make some really good television.
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be really entertaining. They're going to do some really good stuff. They're going to have some good matches. I would, I will, for one, will definitely be tuning in to see what they do there.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, right off the rip, and granted, I'm not sitting there saying that I've been the biggest New Day fan in the world in the last couple of years. Obviously, mostly because of the fact the creative's been shitty. Although I wasn't against the heel turn, honestly. Something new. Try something new.
Oh
But I'm
yeah,
gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right, Rob. I'm gonna tell you right now. If they go to AEW, they'll get my attention. If there's something to get me to watch AEW again, New Day going to AEW, going to draw my attention immediately.
yeah, and so yeah, look, I mean, they will undoubtedly be a positive there, and they will make whatever show they're on, they will make it better just by being there.
Yeah.
And look, this is I always tell people, look, because people, if your favorite wrestler, if they leave where they are and they go somewhere else, you need to follow them wherever they go.
Yep.
Um,
Now's your chance.
and so don't go on Twitter and just make fire off a bunch of angry tweets and then not support them, especially if they go to AEW's after WWE. AEW is literally the easiest company to access.
Right.
Um,
Especially now with the HBO deal and all that stuff. So yeah.
yeah, I mean, and so if they go there as I expect, you got no excuse to not follow them there. Um, and look, I think they will be a big plus because they offer so much as performers. The way
Hmm.
that Punk did, the same
Yeah.
way that Cody did while he was there. The same way that I know people. It's kind of in vogue to mock Mercedes, but she's had a major positive impact on the way the women are booked there since she's been there.
Right. Right.
So, and they're going to add something to that, so they're going to be a big plus. Again, I'm assuming that they, because otherwise, I mean, I mean, I guess if they wanted to just do some indie dates or whatever. There are a few indie companies that pay more. Like, look, they're not gonna be showing up in the backwoods anywhere at some hole in the wall indie show, obviously. Um,
Right.
but they have a chance to really, go do more than what they were doing the past couple of years because they were not being given a whole lot to do. Uh,
Yeah.
and
I
some of
mean,
that,
they were involved with WrestleMania. They were involved with WrestleMania, crying out loud.
yeah, and
A two-night
so
WrestleMania. Like, what are we
yeah,
doing?
and there's a bigger conversation about, some of the complaints people have about the kind of quality of the WWE product right now. Um, and that's a bigger, longer conversation. But one thing I will throw in there just quickly is that, you know, when you take time away from people like New Day, your show gets worse. And and don't tell me that, oh well, they need to start featuring some new people. Um, who are they featuring? Who are they featuring instead of New Day? That's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I
But 'cause
mean,
a lot of people think that this is also part of the whole, like, and I have to credit my boy Big Jim from 3CT. He made a great point when I texted him this whole situation. He made a good point, like saying this is very similar to what happened in the Generation Era, where like the old guard and the new guard thing, and you start seeing little by little, not necessarily the top of the card because you're not going to see Roman and Punk leave just yet, and all that, and even Seth rather, but the mid carders, the tag teams, if they're not active and they've been there a long time, you start seeing the shift. And we're seeing a big youth movement now with WWE now. We said it with Obafemi and what he's doing there, and Trick Williams we're doing. So out with the old new thing. So there is a bit of a youth movement going here too, in a sense it's comparable to the new generation era shift from 1992 to 1993.
well,
That was Jim made a good comparison about that, and I actually agree with him on that. To some degree.
I will actually. I'll
How
take
it works out, we'll see. But oh, really?
I,
Okay.
because back when that happened with the new generation, those guys were broken, and a lot of them were just bad
Yeah.
shape and just could not keep going.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
different industry back then too. Also, yeah.
and another thing is that it's not. I wouldn't call it a youth movement because a lot of people that got released were younger people, and
Yeah.
they just signed. They just signed Evil. Evil's 39 years old, so you're not. You can't. You're not doing a youth movement if you're signing some guy from New Japan who's 39 years old. That's not a youth movement.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's not. And you know, um, you know, Joe Hendry is close to 40. They just brought him up to the main roster, right?
He's 40 years old. Wow, I didn't know he's that old.
He's 38.
Interesting.
So
That's interesting.
yeah,
That's interesting.
mean,
Okay.
so again, no, you're not doing a youth movement if if you're bringing in people who are 38 and 39 years old, you are not doing a youth movement. Okay.
Fair point. Great
Okay.
segue, Rob, because that's one thing we actually did miss. And I already had planned on talking about this anyway, but the New Day thing, obviously, even bigger deal. There was recent post WrestleMania cuts that happened right after the show a few weeks back. Some really big names here too. Also, some of them were actually already in actual creative up to this point. You have the entire Wyatt Six get cut. Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy, Dexter Loomis, and Eric Rowan get cut. We saw this one really upset me more than anything else. Aleister Black and Zelina Vega both gone simultaneously. You have Kairi Sane for part of the Kabuki Warriors. Well, I feel like hers is probably more so her want to go back home to Japan. I think that's what I really believe. The Motor City Machine Guns, Al Shelley and Chris Sabin, they're gone as well too. Also, Santos Escobar is gone. He was the leader of Legado del Fantasma. Apollo Cruz. Now he hasn't been doing much at all. I think for the last couple of years. So that's more of a okay. Not I'm gonna call him dead weight, but he hasn't done anything creative in quite a while. Zoe Stark. She had a knee injury, so
yeah, she's on 29.
She got cleared though. But you got Alba Fire also, former NXT UK standout. There's some NXT developmental cuts also too. Andre Chase, Dante Chen, Malik Blade, A couple other ones here. Here's my question: like, any of these names shock you at
Um,
all?
Kyrie did because she's in the middle of a what have been the longest running women's storyline, and that had involved a bunch of people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously involved Io Sky and Oscar, but it
Mm-hmm.
different points. It involved Rhea Ripley. It involved it was part of the war games and everything. Um, and so that one was surprising because it looked like they were heading towards some type of big blow off match or resolution of it all,
Yeah,
right? And they just so that to me that was the biggest. And Aleister Black was shocking to me also
that's
because
more shocking than else, in my opinion. He was doing some stuff,
he
nothing
beat
huge,
Randy
but
Orton this year. He beat Randy Orton this year on
yeah,
SmackDown.
yeah.
So
Kyrie
yeah,
Sane. But that's also why I think Kyrie Sane was more so. I think she asked for that because I think she wanted to go back home.
um,
I'm just
well,
speculating, of course, but that I know she has a lot of things going on at home.
well, because Dave Meltzer put out one of those reports where he kind of hinted at that or speculated that, and then
Okay,
but she went on Twitter and like she didn't say that wasn't true, but she basically said, "Look, I'm not a quitter," something along those
right,
lines.
right.
Um, so who knows? I say I don't think I don't think there's a particular strategy. I mean, I think every after WrestleMania, most years, not every year, but most years they do cut people,
Mm-hmm.
and in some cases it's just people who have not been used on TV for a while, or and some of these people just never really got a whole lot of traction, um, and then or some people where it's just like, well, there's nothing else we can really do with them, like the Wyatt Six. Um, that kind of act just has a ceiling on it, really.
It does, and to me, the initial. I hate to say this, when Bray died, it had some gas, and then it after a while you realize it's not Bray. It's just not Bray Wyatt. No
Yeah,
offense to the group, but
well, 'cause, I mean, it was a Bray tribute act basically,
yeah, pretty much, yeah,
and and which is fine, by the way.
yeah. I'm not against them, but it is what
But
it is.
it's just when you do one of those kind of like spooky character kind of things, it has a ceiling on it,
Yeah,
and they hit the ceiling.
yeah.
So, and there wasn't really, you know, and also, well, last year they gave a lot of time to the tag team division on SmackDown last year. They gave them a lot of time,
They really did. They put some effort last year. I will say that. Yes,
and it did not. And they most weeks they barely got any reaction. So I mean, it's one of those things. If you give those guys a lot of TV time, then and this also goes into the machine guns. Um, you know, you give them a lot of TV time.
they did. Yeah, you can't say that they didn't use them because they did. The little times I did watch SmackDown or saw highlights, they were always on the highlight reel. So they get a lot of TV time.
They did, and I mean, look, I mean, they neglect. I mean, they could have done a lot more stuff on the women's division with that time, and they didn't. And so, or with some of the other mid-card men stuff, and they did not. They give so if you give somebody as much time as they gave that
Right.
tag team division, and it just doesn't get any traction, then I mean, yeah, at some point, if you do have to cut people, then you're going to look in that direction.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um,
Which names of this bunch do you see coming back to the company? Because I could I'll tell you quite a few that I see come back to the company within the next couple year or two.
um, well, I think no, you have said all that about the Wyatts. I think, yeah, I mean, they'd all probably come back if they, in
You think
you
all
know,
won't come back?
not a,
All say.
not in a group. I'm just saying any one of them as just individually, I think would come back if if the offer
Yeah.
was made.
Yeah.
Um,
Kyrie Sane's the easy one for me. Kyrie Sane would be the easiest one for
um,
me because the Oscar connection.
Well, I guess it all depends on how much of this. It all depends on whether she really did want to go home or not. If that is just not true, if she was 100% locked in and they just cut her loose, then she may not come back if they ask her.
Mm,
Uh, because I mean, word is she went right back home, and and look, I mean, she can go. She was working for Stardom before she came
right.
back. So I don't know. I think it just really depends on where how where her head is at. Um, I think my guess is Santos Escobar is probably never going to come back
Mm,
because he was going to leave last year. They gave him a bunch of money to stay, and then they didn't do anything with him
okay.
for months. And he was going to go. I'm assuming probably like to work for AEW and then CMLL in Mexico, and they threw a bunch of money at him to stay just last year, by the way. Now, and then they didn't do anything with him for months. Then they sent him down there to AAA for a little bit, and then he got injured down there, and they released him while he was injured. So
Right.
he, look, they fucked him.
Mm,
Uh, So if he's able to make, if he's able to put something together where he makes good enough money, you know, in CMLL or AEW or some combination of the two, I doubt he comes back because I mean they fucked him over royally.
that's interesting perspective there.
Uh,
Aleister Black, it still stuns me that he hasn't kind of found a way to stick somewhere. The guy's a great character, great in ring. I love watching him. And it just makes no. I just don't get it. What this dude should be easy to book. I don't get it, bro.
I don't get why because look, this is the second time they released him, and they're very weird.
Yeah, that's very true.
Now, but so word on the street is that they don't really want him to come back to AEW.
Why is that? What are you
I mean,
hearing?
the whole time they were there, there were rumors the whole time he was there that he didn't want to do any jobs, and apparently he wasn't the most well liked person in the locker room, according to, if you believe the reports.
Mm,
So yeah, and then he spent a good bit of like the last 6 months to a year that he was there. He spent a good bit of that time trying to get out of his deal so he could come back to WWE.
right. Only
So
for this shit. My God.
yeah,
TNA maybe.
um, yeah, that'd be my guess. I mean, he could. I mean, he could do really well there,
Yeah.
and I mean, yeah, that'd be my guess.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens there. I mean, some of these names are shocking, to be honest with you, because a lot of times you see Apollo. First of all, I didn't realize Apollo Crews was still on the fucking roster. I thought he was gone already. The fact that he was he released now, like, wait, he's still on the roster? I had no idea.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. He's one of those guys who he hit out for a while, basically, and it seemed because he'd been injured for a while, but yeah, I mean, it's a surprise that he lasted this long
yeah,
because
honestly, yeah,
like
yeah,
they hadn't done anything, like they hadn't given any type of push, any type of creative direction in several years.
right,
So
right, right.
it's it's surprising that he hung on this long. Um, and this one guy from NXT, Andre Chase, not his story is pretty remarkable because he said that when he came to NXT, he was supposed to just primarily be like a backstage guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that they told him from the beginning that that this wasn't a TV role and don't expect to get on TV. And I mean, he made himself into a very successful TV character for 5 years almost.
Right. All right. Well, now to the last part of the show here. It is, like I said, it's Go Home Week. Backlash is around the corner. By the way, I'm very glad they don't call it WrestleMania Backlash or Backlash, whatever the hell you call that. Um, Thank God, it's Backlash Tampa now, which will take place May 9th, 2026 in Tampa, Florida at the Benchmark International Arena. People ask me if I'm going to this event. I am not doing that because I'm still boycotting this damn company, even though I will be watching this event. Rob, there are only 5 matches for the show, which I like that. I like these simple shows. It's nice. Um,
I don't.
do you think they'll throw one more match in before kickoff?
Maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. I'm not a fan of these 5 match cards.
Is it too short for you?
Yeah, um I think 6 or 7 is I think the right place. I think
See, I'm not against it for one reason because I don't want these smaller PLEs. That's not WrestleMania. That's not Survivor Series. SummerSlam. You name it. Rumble. I don't want to go beyond 3 hours. And five matches. I mean, could you add a 6-1 and shorten the match into 6? Yeah, sure. But I feel like these matches are gonna a lot of these matchups I see here are actually nice work rate matches. These matches I see going easily 15 minutes each. All these, so that's probably the thinking here too. These all can drag out a lot longer, and it's probably a lot of space for Gaga too, also too within the 5 matches. Who knows? We may get one more match before the show kicks off. But let's get to the first match here on the docket. We got Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman in Breaker's corner. I'll be honest with you, like I'm happy to see this match, obviously, but does this feel like a Money in the Bank match, something a little bigger stakes match? I mean, I don't know.
question. Well, because like some of these matches on this card are like the Io and Oscar one is definitely one that they just didn't fit in on the WrestleMania card. And then Seth and Braun got that got derailed because of injuries for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then all right, Trick and Sammy just is a rematch, and then there's kind of we have the wacky tag team match.
Yeah.
No.
Wacky operative word, of course.
Yeah. So as far as this main, I am kind of surprised that they went to Roman and Jacob immediately after WrestleMania. I thought you could have done that on a bigger show.
Backlash, I would say though, Backlash of all the tier 2 like PLEs, like you have the big 3, the big 4, whatever we call it, and then you can throw Money Back in else too. It's 5. I would say Backlash might be the biggest one of the next biggest one after those big 5. It's historically speaking, they've always been Backlash. Always had really nice, good shows. 21 shows now.
During the Attitude Era, definitely it was real because like they would literally have, and then during the first part of the Ruthless Aggression era, definitely because they would literally do like a rematch of the WrestleMania main event, those years. And they don't do that like now. They tend to move on. Yeah, they don't do that now. They move on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say it's not as big of one as it used to be.
Right. Okay.
It's not the bottom. I'd say it's kind of a middle of the pack one now.
Right. All right. So he liking Seth and Braun, by the way, because Seth and Braun, that should be a fun match. Look, it seems to me since Braun's come back, that they are pushing Braun to the moon right now.
Yeah, I think he wins this one, and I think it doesn't. I don't think it ends here though. So.
Oh hell no! This has so much legs. This shit can go. Honestly, I'm not even joking. The rest of 2026. It may have some bumps and stops in here or there, but this I can see is going beyond SummerSlam because there's a story here to be told here. It's not just these 2 guys. It's a Paul Heyman angle. There's obviously if Gunther's involved again, there's a lot of things, a lot of different elements of this feud that you can bring in to keep this thing sustained. But ultimately, Braun and Seth is the core of this feud right now. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go Braun. The way they're booking Braun, the way they're pushing Braun, the way they're showcasing Braun on Raw every week now. He is back. He's a big deal. He's getting spears in every week. He's getting his shit in.
And
So I think Braun will win this Sunday also too.
I think this is one where he's got to win this one because his he lost to Punk in January.
He
Um,
did. He did.
so like he can't keep losing these matches. If he's
No.
somebody that you're pushing as one of your future top people, then he can't keep losing these kind of matches. So
Yes, and Seth won't. And besides, Seth won't get hurt anyone this one. And there's a way to protect him. You throw it in division and distraction here and there. You can protect him.
oh yeah, I
So
mean, this is not going to be a clean finish by any means. No.
yeah, absolutely. So I'll go Braun as well too. Also, all right. Next matchup, we have Io Sky and Asuka. Should be a fun match actually. This one.
Yeah, and I think EO probably wins. More than likely. Um, the match, when the bell rings, it should be great. But the story, them, again, Kyrie getting released took so much steam out of the story they were telling. Um, and I don't know what they're doing with EO. It's very strange.
Yeah, she like last year she was a world champ,
And then
and now she's kind of like she's there. She's hanging out with Rhea and this and
yeah,
that, but
and,
there's
like
nothing really.
she got turned into Rhea's little buddy,
Yeah,
and that and now coming out of this, assuming she wins, like I still don't know what they're going to do with it, like because
I, I mean, there's an opportunity here now with Kyrie gone. Do you start an angle where Asuka convinces her to join her and she turns heel and turns on Rhea, this kind of thing? There's something to be said that can happen.
I just don't I do not like EO as a heel. She just
She's too adorable.
that and yeah
She's too
and
adorable.
that
She is.
and then the way she works in the ring is just her ring work is much better when she can play to the crowd and all that stuff. And doing that, and when you're a heel, you're not supposed to do that.
Hmm.
And but a lot of times she did it anyway, and it just so she is much better as a baby face. I would not turn her. If they're going to keep this going, then I would have Oscar bring somebody in or bring somebody over to basically help her go after her.
I should know. I should know who wins this match. I mean, I might lean Asuka on this one, honestly, but who knows, man? This could go either way.
Um,
This is 50-50 for me.
yeah. I mean, I could see win just winning just because, but then I could also see Oscar cheating,
Yeah.
win some kind of way, or getting
Hmm. Hmm.
somebody bringing somebody over to help her.
Some more green mist, maybe.
Yeah,
Just like the promo they just did a while ago last night.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's pretty cool by the way. I like that promo. I love those old school promos like that, face to face promos like that. I like that stuff. They need to do more of that.
and it's much better when you when you let them talk in their native language.
Absolutely, because it adds more to the feud. It's more authentic to the feud. So I agree with you. All right, we got Trick Williams, the U.S. title on the line. Trick Williams, the champion, with Lil Yachty in his quarter versus Sami Zayn. So is it safe to say Sami Zayn is now a heel?
Yeah, I think it's temporary though.
Or is it just the fact that he's getting booed because it's against Trick? Because Trick is technically the heel, but Trick is like now. So what are we doing?
Um, I think I think this is a temporary thing. I think, um, yeah, I just think it's a temporary thing, and because some people were starting to get a little restless with him, I think Sammy,
I don't know
and
why. He's still well liked. I don't understand that.
yeah, well, I guess because a lot of it is again, this is just from stuff I saw on Twitter. Just doesn't
Oh,
necessarily
because yeah. Oh yeah. The political
doesn't
stuff. Yeah.
necessarily make any sense, but it's just from what I've from the people I've seen who are starting to get a little restless with him. It's because he's the underdog, but then he's always winning a bunch of stuff. and
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know, he,
he did be good to WrestleMania 2 years ago. So yeah.
yeah, it's like at some point you're not really the underdog anymore. But I think this is a temporary thing. I think this is just a matter of convenience because they brought Trick up as a heel originally, and of
Hmm.
course they're cheering for him because he's too cool to be booing. And so in order to kind of make the turn official, they needed to have somebody be working heel against him. And so, look, I think it's temporary. Probably by the end of the year, Sammy will be babyface again. I think this is just a temporary thing to get through this.
Yeah, I think Trick retains anyway.
Yeah, I think.
But
I think. Yeah, but yeah. I mean,
I kind of feel like this might end at this after this match. Who knows? Maybe there's more on the gas for this one. But you guys been feuding for a couple of months now, so who knows? All right, we got a tag match between the Miz and Kit Wilson versus Danhausen and a partner to be announced. Any ideas who the partner might be? Any guesses?
well, it's not going to be John Cena, folks. Don't get. I mean, I know because he's going to be appearing.
And not only that'd be lame.
It absolutely would be. It would be. So, I think Royce Keys is definitely a possibility.
Is Royce Keys a babyface or heel?
He's babyface and he's on SmackDown, so that would work. I saw some people suggest CM Punk because Punk and Danhausen are real life buddies. And
I'm gonna pick Hausen because he'll curse somebody.
oh yeah, they're winning. Yeah, whoever the partner is, that they're winning. Yeah, this is you don't have to lose now. I think it'll probably be Royce Keys.
What was Obafemi? Just to fuck with him. I don't know.
Oh well, I think he's another one. So look, it'll be a big black guy. we got two to choose from now, right? So it'll be one of the two big black guys.
Yeah, I wouldn't do Oba. I don't want to burn Oba out right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think it'll probably be Royce Keys, and then he'll come out there and he'll of course throw everybody around and that stuff.
The Miz is the pro, man. He really is. Oh well, but I got that house in his team. All right, and finally the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship. You got Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu. I mean, there's no question. There's no question. Roman's a match, man. I'm just curious. My thing is beyond. Is there legs on this actual feud beyond? This is a one off, and then we go back to reset. Because there's a lot of different chess pieces here. You got the Usos involved in this. You have obviously Sol Sikoa on the outside and all that stuff. So there's a lot of different angles here that can make this stick a lot longer than it should. But who knows, man?
Oh, cause look, I think everybody you mentioned is going to be running in. So Solo and Jimmy and Jay and Tama Tonga and anybody who can run in, anybody who's available to run in is going to run in on this. There's going to be a lot of people. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of running in. I think so that way that's how you can preserve it for like another day. To run it back or whatever. So they're gonna be a lot of run-ins. So this thing is not going to end clean at all.
I don't know. The question is how and who, and I can see a DQ here. I can straight DQ because there is something to be said that like does Fatu gets hurt by a loss? No, but Fatu. Look, we discussed last week on the podcast. Like, there's a world I see this guy in the world championship picture now. Like, he's in a match right now, but we're wondering is he someone that you can really put in that picture sustainably for a course in the next couple of years? And I'm starting to buy the idea more and more as this process continues. People love him. If the crowd loves him, they're gonna run with this thing.
Yeah, so I think he's not going now. If he goes out there, he just loses clean in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3. Then yes, that does hurt him. But I think there's zero chance that happens.
Right.
And so he'll be fine. Look, if 5 different people run in and there's a whole bunch of crap going on, and then in the middle of that, Roman beats him, I think that doesn't hurt him in any kind of way.
Right. Should be a fun match on the list, though. I mean, Roman and Jacob Fatu should be a really, really fun match. This Saturday, once again at Tampa, Florida, Backlash Tampa, as it being called. So anyway, before we let you go, anything else to bring up, or are we good? We cleared the palate for today.
Well, this contract stuff bears a lot of, it warrants just stay. I say stay tuned because we're talking about something that could just it could change the very fabric of where people decide to go because
I saw a thing on the internet. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm leaning toward not being true about them approaching Roman about restructuring too. Also,
oh yeah, I think that yeah no I think
yeah,
that
I think it's bullshit.
yeah that could because well because so they had originally like they put up an advertisement of
Yeah,
him
that too. Yeah.
all the way through May and June, and then they took down the June dates, and then so people, and then people decided that you know there's something to it, and then of course that gets people thinking, well, what does this all mean? Um, and just wait, look, I don't do narratives. I don't do narratives. I don't do rumors.
Yeah.
Um, you know, yeah, I'm a firm believer that the simplest answer is usually the right one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't believe it either. I was just it's out
Right?
there.
I don't care. Right?
I
Um,
mean, I can't say I won't. I can't go as far as I won't care because it's still something. And I mean, we're on the content game, obviously, and there's always things you want to at least unpack on. And here's all I will say about that: I don't believe the rumors at all. However, Roman's going full time this year apparently, and maybe the company did say, listen, we're paying you X, Y, and Z. You got to put more appearances this year. That's the only thing I could see.
yeah. So, I mean, we'll find out soon enough. But
Yeah.
if if they're now going to be in the habit of asking people to take pay cuts, then for those people, that just that changes the calculus on whether or not you go to work there.
Oh my God, yes. And then you look at start looking at some more names there who have been there for years. People like the Miz, for example, and people who just they are not doing. Now the Miz, I'm sure, if given the opportunity to take a pay cut, he may do it because he's a loyal employee. But I don't know where his demarcation is, of course. But just keep out some of these names. There's some of these older names have been there for a while now because there's some people on that roster that probably don't. For example, the Apollo Crews thing. Like I forgot he was on the roster. I thought he was gone. And some guys I'm sure that's on the roster now, and ladies too also, that are still collecting a check that are not doing anything significant in programming. Some like a
Yeah,
Natalia, maybe some like a Natalia, but Natalia also does a lot of work behind the scenes too, also. So she has value there as well. So who knows, man? This thing can get. I fall short saying ugly, but it get very interesting in the next couple months.
yeah. Oh, I will say I'm thinking more about in terms of people who they make offers to come in because now, I mean, you gotta look at it like now, it's like the number you signed for. I mean, up until just now, I mean, if you signed for $10 million,
Mm-hmm.
then unless they released you, but if you signed for $10 million and if they didn't release you, you're going to get $10 million.
Right.
Now there's a possibility of you may sign a contract for $10 million total, and they may come to you a year later and ask you to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
And so now that's part of the calculus now. So if I got options, you know, I'm gonna go. If the money is almost the same, then if the money that I'm signing for is almost the same, and in one place, if you sign for it, you're going to get it. In the other place, if you sign for it, you might not get all of it. Then I mean that just it changes. It changes the calculus. I mean, some of these people you know from New Japan or maybe we're working on the Indies and becoming a big deal now. Some of those
Mm-hmm.
people they try to
Right.
bring in, next year, the year after, may decide not to come in because
Yeah.
I mean, basically, right now your word isn't any good.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
And so if I got options, then You know,
Well,
if yeah, there's I mean, there's the possibility that I may not get what I signed for. Then and if I go somewhere else and where I can get what I signed, where will get what I signed for, and if the numbers are almost the same, then I mean, you're going to have people making decisions.
yep.
You're going to have people making different decisions, whether it's to
Hmm.
join as a free agent or to re-sign. Um, some people, if they got other things lined up outside of the business, they may just decide to do that instead.
Hmm.
Because that happened back in like 2012 and 2013 with a lot of the women wrestlers back then. About half a dozen of them, they just quit
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Hmm.
at that time they weren't making a lot of money, and you know, there was more back then for them. There was more money to be made just going to conventions and doing photo shoots and calendars and stuff. And so a lot of them just said, "Screw it." Um, so you're gonna have it's gonna change the calculus. You're gonna have people rethinking coming there in the first place. You're gonna have people rethinking about resigning. You got people rethinking about just continuing on in business if they have something else that they can be doing. And look, I think ultimately we lose. I mean, the wrestlers lose also because they're not getting the money they were promised, but we lose also because the people who are getting put in the situation are. I mean, a lot of them were people who weren't doing anything, yes, but I mean, New Day. I mean, like I just said earlier, putting it on your television show makes the show better, and not having them there.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and you can't lose with so many people like that. I mean, yes, you can lose one person like that here or there, but when you can't lose with so many of those people, and you can't just replace them with newer people because a lot of those newer people just aren't going to be as good as they are.
Yeah. You got to
And
still hold on some of the old names and old. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that.
and
Totally agree with you on that.
and I remember, and this isn't a sports season. This is an ongoing television show.
Hmm.
Ongoing television shows are about you know characters that the audience has a relationship with over the years. Okay. I watch those of us who watch Law and Order SVU. We
It's your favorite
watch all
show.
these years. Yeah, we watch all these years for Detective Benson and and Detective Stabler and Ice T, Detective Tutuola. We watched those who we're watching for.
Hmm.
If you were to if you were to get rid of if you were to get rid of two of them, if they get rid of Detective Benson and say, well, we got to bring in another younger character now, that show's gonna get canceled
Yep.
because we're gonna stop watching. Okay, and yeah, and they've had, a lot of long running shows have had that problem before where they've written off a character or whatever, and it turns out that, if you turn over too many characters that are good, the show just loses a lot of its luster, and then, so you can't do that. Or just like when people make salary cap cuts in like the NFL, right? You can lose one or two people who for salary cap reasons, but if you get to the point where you're letting where you know half a dozen or a dozen of your good players you had to let leave for salary cap reasons, your team's going to stink.
Absolutely.
And
There's,
you know,
there's a term for that too. Penny pinching, dollar short. What do we call it? That
yeah,
it's
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah.
because yeah, I mean exactly, and so I mean that's a real thing, and you hope it does. I mean, you hope they don't. You hope it doesn't go there with them because
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as it means a real thing, it can happen. I don't. Again, I don't believe these guys to be all wise and all knowing. I
Oh
don't.
fuck no. They're not wrestling promoters. They're not.
No, and I mean also, look, I think honestly, look, I think in the broader picture, pro wrestling doesn't fit their business model.
No.
I mean, because boxing, UFC, you have a card and you promote it, and then there's you don't have people watching your like television for 8 weeks or 4 weeks in
Right.
between stuff every to keep up with what's going on with the guys who fought. right? It's just different, right? I mean,
Mhm.
wrestling is it's 24/7 year round ongoing, and
That's right.
like it's a television show, and you need people, obviously you need like your biggest names to, draw in the most people, but you also need your recurring characters who the audience likes and has a relationship with, and because the shows are 2 and 3 hours long, and you need your veterans to be in those spaces because Roman Reigns ain't gonna be out there for 2.5 hours.
Nope.
You know, he might be out there a half hour at the most. Well, you got 2 more hours, right? And the spaces in between when he's out there, like you need other people who your audience has a relationship with, who do good work and all of that type of thing. Um, and if you get rid of most of those people, or even half of those people, you're gonna be left with a show with a bunch of people that your audience has no relationship with and doesn't care about. And even if those people are really talented, it's not going to get over as well.
Right. Well, we'll see how everything plays out.
Yes.
Rob, what you got going on Robert Genius podcast? Mind Wrestling, what's
Okay.
going on with that?
I've been promising to publish the second half of the basketball thing me, Jason, and Ray did. And all right, I promise this week I will finish it this week. I will finish editing it this week, and I will publish it this week.
Good.
I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. See, I don't, I know.
Oh, I saw also you hosted last week's Mind Wrestling because I think DJ wasn't there last week. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. What's what you mean,
Yeah.
Jason trying to like do your intro for you? So,
Oh, because no, I totally fucked it up.
oh,
And
you
then
did fuck it up? Okay, okay. I think
and
you just
then
jumped
and
in
then
instead of doing it.
yeah, and then I totally blew the outro also.
Oh shit! Calling the ring, man. You calling the
Yeah.
ring?
Yeah.
Whatever DJ says, he's very creative with that kind of stuff. Anyway, Rob, maybe if the show is pretty decent, maybe we'll do a reaction podcast on Sunday morning. We'll see, possibly.
Yeah, if anything eventful happens, let's do that.
Yeah, we'll do something like that. So look out for that, guys. If that comes, I'll say something on Twitter or on X, whatever, if that does happen. But again, Falls Count Anywhere, of course, part of the Earnestly podcast. Until the next episode, we will talk to you guys soon. God bless and enjoy Backlash, guys.